One of the things that caused Napoleon to be a mediocre film was the pacing. The pacing was just off. You got a very intense battle sequence, right? The editing is, more fast-paced. You're getting into the action. It's, it's brutal. It's grimy. Getting into the battle sequences, and then everything just halts and stops, and then bam! Now you're in this still shot with Napoleon and Josephine in a very stale scene where they're not even talking to each other. It's just an awkward relationship, and that just brings about laughter. I was laughing. I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? I don't know. Hello, and welcome back to the Film Custodian Show. I am the Film Custodian, and I am back in the garage, as you can see. And it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas. All right, today I'm going to talk about Napoleon. I actually saw Napoleon a couple weeks ago. It came out in the theater. I'm just now getting to it. But anyway, so Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Joaquin Phoenix. And also Vanessa Kirby as Josephine. So basically, I was super excited for this film. It's Napoleon. Napoleon is a very interesting character. And I've seen many good documentaries based on Napoleon. There's stuff all over YouTube, of course, about all the battles. Waterloo has been the Battle of Waterloo has been done so many times. Just people looking at it and figuring out the strategies and all these different things. So I was kind of looking forward to this. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. I was kind of shaky on that. And in the end, yeah, I've kind of been proven right. Ridley Scott. I've said this before, Ridley Scott is only as good as his script. One of my favorite Ridley Scott films, of course, American Gangster, starring Denzel Washington, and that was an excellent script. That was an excellent film. But anyway, so yeah, Napoleon, and he's done other epics as well, like this. Recently he did The Last Duel. He did his original film that he did, The Duelists. That was great. It's basically two guys that are constantly fighting with each other. Anyway, I'm going off on all these side rants. Just as kind of a little bit of history there. But so going into this film, you've got all this history. He's got all this experience with epics. Kingdom of Heaven, which I thought was really good, except for Orlando Bloom. I don't think Orlando Bloom was the right choice for that film, but it was a great film. And then you've got epics like Gladiator. I think Robin Hood was really good until about halfway through, and then it just kind of got stupid. So this is another one of those cases where Napoleon has some really good battle scenes in it, and the costumes are really good, and Joaquin Phoenix does fine. He kind of went in, and he said this before in interviews, where it's like, well, I kind of want to play him like a schoolyard bully or just like a whiny little bitch. And that's exactly what it is. And so it's like in real life, or sort of even his love life with Josephine, and just in normal everyday life, he's kind of a little bitch. And then he goes off into the battlefield, and he's just the king, right? He knows exactly what he's doing, everything that's going on. I don't know how historically accurate that is. Well, let's just say that real quick. This film is it's not historically accurate. And they spend no time actually going over the events. It's basically a highlight reel. It's a highlight reel of everything that happens. You have the beginning where the beginning of the film, he's kind of fighting a battle, and then leading these men. This is his chance to show how wonderful he is, and everything always kind of has like a sub card or a little text down here. 18 whatever, the Battle of Waterloo or whatever it is, and so it is. It's like what they basically did was there was two movies. Someone wanted to make the film Napoleon the Conqueror, right? Napoleon, the military and the battle and all that stuff, which has been talked about for so long, and it's something that I want to see. And then you have sort of Napoleon, the private life, which is everything in between that and is ridiculously boring. So you have Napoleon as sort of a highlight reel. That's what this film is. It's Napoleon, the highlight reel. And they don't spend a lot of time in each battle either, and I doubt each battle happened, unfolded as it did in real life. And I don't care that much about being historically accurate 100%, but in this case, I think it would, there's no reason not to, because Napoleon and all the Napoleonic Wars and all that time period is so heavily, written down, and there's so many records, and the personal journals of Napoleon and Josephine, and And there's just, we know so much about it. We know historically what happened. So there's no reason not to make an attempt to follow that. But Ridley Scott's, his sort of, what he ends up telling all the journalists, you know, when they're like, oh, this isn't accurate, that's not accurate, he just famously goes, he just tells them, oh, well, F off. Were you there? No, you weren't there. I wasn't there. So who cares? F off. Like that, you can't use that argument. You can't just use that argument and like, oh yeah, you're right. We weren't there. Who knows? Like you can't do that. We know what happened. We have history. It's been recorded. We know. So make an attempt. But if this was a fantastic film, then fine. It was a fantastic. But even then, like, then don't call it Napoleon. Call it like, you know, Napoleonic Wars or something. Call it, you know. But no, he said this is Napoleon. This is a biography, like a biographical film, sort of about him and his life, his rise and fall, his rise from nothing. No, that's not this film at all. There's nothing with him, you know, when he was younger and he was on Corsica, the island of Corsica before it was invaded by, you know, France, and France took over, and then he grew up hating France, and then eventually became Emperor of France. Like, that's not the film. That's not the film at all. It's just the highlights reel. You know, it's just like, well, yeah, we had this battle, we got Austerlitz, and then you know, now he's crowned king, and then Waterloo. And then in between, you got all this boring shit with him and Josephine. Josephine gets way more screen time, and it's like, if you wanted to make that the film, like a love film between, you know, like Josephine and Napoleon, and it's wonderful and it's awesome and this is a love story, fine, but it just comes off awkward. You know, there's just a lot of like really still shots. So it'll be like, you know, there's a battle going on, it's brutal, it's chaotic, it's grim, and then you just cut to this stale shot of Napoleon just like bent over, like sitting there kind of twiddling his thumbs, and Josephine is just sitting off like, you know, and it's like this really awkward, you know, weird relationship that's going on, and it's like, I don't know if they tried, like a lot of people said it's unintentionally funny. I agree, but I'm beginning to wonder if it was unintentional, or like they actually tried to make it funny, because it's funny. So you go off of this goofy, weird kind of stuff where it's like he looks high, like Napoleon looks just like he's high all the time, or what, I don't know, and then you go off and you do the cool Napoleon battle thing, and then you come back, and it's just this stuff. Like, I really wanted to be invested in everything that was going on. Really, this should have been 3 films. You got the beginning, the middle, and end, right? And then you got like everything in the middle when he becomes emperor and all that kind of stuff. And then the downfall, and then eventual exile to, you know, to Elba, and his eventual death. So the historical stuff is very like, oh yeah, this is the time when he says that one line. And then, you know, like, well, I found you know, I found the crown of France in the gutter. So it's like, we got to have him say that, and now we move on to the next thing. It's very weird. Apparently there's a 4-hour cut that's going to come out on Apple Plus, or Apple whatever, eventually. And I think this film is just too short, which is weird because all these films have been so long recently. So yeah, it's a highlights reel where you're kind of doing like, it's kind of just, Joaquin Phoenix is kind of wandering around doing the Napoleon thing, and then you get some really good battles, and like, you know, the sound and the music is great and all that, and the sets, the design and all that. But like, no, at its core, it's just very hollow. Like, I don't care about the characters at all. Like, I mean, and they couldn't really decide either. Are they making Napoleon a villain? Are they making him a good guy? Are they making him a rebel? Like, he's a very interesting character in history, and everything surrounding that Napoleonic Wars. I mean, literally named after him, like the Napoleonic Wars and all that. It's just a very interesting time. And you kind of don't get any of that. You get a very, like, just sort of glossed over version of the characters, you know, the real life people and the battles, and yeah, it's just a highlights reel. It's a 6 out of 10, I guess. I mean, if you're interested in Napoleon times and Napoleonic Wars, and you just want to see some really good war battle sequences, go watch this film. That's what you'll get out of it. You know, you're not really going to get much of anything else. I don't know. It's definitely not Ridley Scott's best film. But, oh, and also something else I got to mention too. Everything is color graded in this very like dark blue hue. Well, the whole film looks like that, and I don't know what he does that with most of his films. It's like he just sucks the color out, he desaturates it, and then adds a blue hue, and it's like, well, this doesn't make it look like it's supposed to be taking place in the olden days or whatever. I don't get it. This could have been a very bright, colorful film, but he just chose to suck all the color out of it. Whatever. No, the Last Duel is definitely a much better Ridley Scott film. And again, I think it always goes back to writing. I mean, this is the guy. I mean, the guy is what, in his late 70s, 80s, and he's done, he's done Blade Runner, he's done Alien, for God's sake. I mean, the guy is one of the best filmmakers out there. All these guys are getting old. Marty Scorsese, they're all just getting old, and he's just getting out a lot of films, and I think part of the problem is he's just not taking his time. Ridley Scott at this point is like, I'm in my 80s, and just trying to get as many films out as I can, like whatever. It's like he's just trying to get them out before he dies, I guess. I don't know. But, and I heard also they only filmed this in like 2 months, which I don't think that's accurate. That seems impossible because of everything that's involved in a film, and you want to tell me they only took 2 months? But maybe, because he's already filming, what, Gladiator 2? Nah, maybe that'll be great. I don't know, but we'll see. I think he just kind of makes the film and then just moves on, and it's not like a passion project or anything like that. But, yeah. All right, so I didn't love this movie, but, it's good enough, I guess. So that's kind of my rant on Napoleon. And yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's been a couple months since I posted anything. So thanks for sticking around. Please like and subscribe. Share with your friends if you enjoyed this. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Merry Christmas.